We got a great question here from Joel Gallegos. Love the show, fellas. Do you foresee BK going with a two-back system with Williams and Tyree to spread out defenses? Both are dynamic, explosive, with the ball in their hands. Can I start this, please?
You're the MC of this, so you can say whatever you want.
I hope he does.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if I've got two explosive backs, as you said, they're both explosive, they're both dynamic. How can you not have those guys on the field? My other job where I work at WSBT, one of our co-hosts said, well, I said I want to get Tyree on the field more. And they're like, well, if you're going to take Kyren Williams off the field, then I don't want to do that. I said, well, why
yes,
do you
do. First of all, yes, you do.
Yes, I have no problem with that. And besides, why do you have to take them off the field?
Right.
You can have both of those guys in the game at the same time. If you want to run split backs, if you want to put one in the slot. I mean, there's a million different things you can do with both of those guys. And if you give Tyree more reps and you give Kyren Williams a couple of less reps, that's okay too, because you're saving his legs as well for the entire season.
But you're also giving the defense something else to game plan for.
Absolutely.
That's this notion. That is a 1980s way of looking at it. And even back then, teams used multiple backs. You cannot have a guy that plays 75 snaps on offense at running back. You just can't. He'll wear down, especially a guy at Kyren Williams' size. But also, from a sheer strategy standpoint, Kyren Williams and Chris Tyree have some carryover of their game, but they have different strengths. You always want to give defenses more to think about. Now, to answer Joel's question, don't know, because they're not sharing that with us. I'm hopeful. I'm a little more hopeful that they're going to make that change than some of the other changes, because we've seen it before. We've seen Brian Kelly use multiple backs before. When they started getting Jonas Gray and Sierra Wood rolling together in 2011, the offense looked really good. 2012, they used three backs in 2012. Obviously, Theo was your guy, but then you'd use Sierra Wood in a way that I would hope that they would use Chris Tyree as a runner, sort of that, Theo would pound you, and then Sierra would kind of come in with that smooth running style and just gas you like he did against Oklahoma. And then, of course, they'd bring in George Atkinson as sort of the game breaker. So they would use three backs back then. So it's not 2015. We didn't see it as much, but a little different situation because those guys were freshmen. Josh Adams was a freshman, but look, they moved CJ Prosise to running back in the spring because they were going to use him and Torian Folsom together.
Yes.
So they weren't just going to have one of them play. They weren't moving CJ Prosise, who had like 500 receiving yards the year before as the starting slot, to running back to just give Torian a breather, right? Yeah. They were going to use both of them. So that is something that has been a part of what Brian Kelly's done. So I'm optimistic that now that Chris Tyree is a sophomore, that they will figure out more ways to do it. So, and again, I
have though, if you're Tommy Reed.
We've seen that though. That's the reason I'm a little bit more optimistic, because we have seen that. 2010, we saw it. They used Armando and Robert Hughes and Jonas a little bit. So I mean, we've seen them do that in the past, so it gives me a little bit more confidence. Now, how they'll do it remains to be seen, but we even saw little glimpses of it this year. They weren't afraid to put Kyren in the slot and let him run routes against safeties and corners because he can do it. And I think that's the dynamic that Kyren is really the reason it works.
Yes,
because he can be
that versatile.
Yeah, he can line up in the slot and run route. We've seen him smoke Kyle Hamilton his first spring on camp, or would be his second or first fall camp when Kyle showed up. He was smoking Kyle Hamilton on corner routes. Now he'd do it once or twice, but then it didn't work because, as I said, Kyle, you enjoy your early wins against Kyle Hamilton, because once you beat him once or twice, it's like, well, you're never going to do that again,
right?
And so, but yes, I think I that's one thing that I am actually cautiously optimistic about as far as being an adaptation or a change, because it's not a wholesale change. It's more of a let's do something we've done in the past because we have the depth to do so.
Scheme and philosophy. All right.